Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Elias, and today's video I will be showcasing all of the books I've accumulated within the year. So I have quite a number of books I want to show you guys. There are some really good selections in here, some really interesting picks that I'm truly excited to dive into. But before we get further into the video, I would like to thank today's video sponsor, the Book of the Month. You already know it, I love working with them, so say it with me. Book of the Month is essentially a super fast and popular online growing book service for readers. Their main mission is to promote new and emerging authors to help readers discover the books they love. One of the best things about Book of the Month is their skip policy. If you're not vibing with that particular month's selection of books, you can skip that month anytime, risk-free without being charged. Lastly, they have the best prices for newly released hardcover fiction. If you guys are interested, I do have a link in the code down below. You can use the code MAYREADS to get your first book for only $9.99. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at their May selections. Firstly, we have a fantasy Ariadne, a reimagined story of the Princess of Crete, a riveting tale of love and betrayal. Next is a contemporary fiction, Imposter Syndrome. Big Brother turns out to be Big Sister in this piercing take on the Silicon Valley and the misogyny that keeps it ticking. Next is a thriller, The Last Thing He Told Me, a story of a new wife and a stepmother who must unravel the mystery left behind when her husband disappears. Next is a contemporary fiction, How Lucky. Being the sole witness to a crime proves complicated in this funny, heartwarming story of a hero hiding in plain sight. Last and not least, we have my personal pick for the month, Things We Lost to the Water, a moving multi-generational saga about one family's attempts to weather the storms confronting them in an adopted home. Alright, so those are all the selection picks for the month of May. Check out the link and the code down below, and thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. With that being said and done, there are so many books I want to show you guys, so let's just go ahead and dive straight in. The first one is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. So I mentioned this book in a previous video, my May TBR, and I've asked you guys if this was the correct book to start off with for a person who has yet to read any of Murakami's books. So many of you guys came through, and there were a lot of opinions apparently regarding this book in general. There were a lot of you who have said that Kafka on the Shore is like a really great place to start. Other people have said that Norwegian Wood or his shorter collection of stories were another place to start off with. My whole takeaway in general from everything is that this book relies heavily on surrealism, magical realism, and apparently it might put off or be confusing to others. But you guys, you should know me by now. I love magical realism. I love that surrealism in books. It's my jam. It's why I always tend to lean more towards speculative fiction in general. This, with a big dose of surrealism, say no more. I'll start off with this one first. It was either between this or Norwegian Wood. You guys have said that Norwegian Wood is basically contemporary fiction, while this one is more speculative and surrealist fiction. So I might be doing a reading vlog for this. We'll see. Not too sure yet. Because there are a lot of books on here in this haul that I want to do reading vlogs for, but I don't know, tentative. So the next book I managed to pick up, and you might have seen this book already in a bookstore vlog that I did with Noelle, but this is The Sympathizer by Viet Nguyen. So I saw a girl carrying this book around, walking around in the bookstore, and the cover really intrigued me, especially with the 2 gold stickers here. And for like 2 minutes, I was just steadily trying to sneak a peek at the title or even the author of the book because I was intrigued, right? Finally, I was able to see the title and I went ahead and picked it up. This one essentially follows a half French, half Vietnamese man who moves to America after the fall of Saigon, where he attempts to build a life with other Vietnamese refugees in America while also simultaneously reporting back to his communist superiors back in Vietnam. So this has themes of exploration of identity and culture in America with a hefty dose of espionage and thriller in here as well. So I'm pretty intrigued. The next book, also featured in that bookstore vlog, is The Vegetarian by Kang. I already talked about this book already in my previous video and in that bookstore vlog, so not going to go too much into it, and you guys can go ahead and check out those videos if you're interested. I'm essentially reading this book for this particular month in May, and I for one am glad that this book is extremely short. Alright, so this next book, very interesting story here. So this book I found while scrolling on Twitter. There's this discourse. There was this tweet about it. This book was essentially involved around this taboo, and people were just really clamoring about it and putting it down and saying, what in the fuck? What in the world? How are people condoning this? However, to my surprise, there were some people in the tweets defending the book saying that not all is as seems. And so I looked this book up on Goodreads, and lo and fucking behold, this book has an actual decent rating on Goodreads with actually really good reviews. So I was fucking intrigued, and I went on Depop and I found it used, and I was like, you know what? We'll check it out. We'll see what the buzz is all about. And this book is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. You guys, even reading the blurb here, I am just astounded and sort of irked out because essentially it's about these 2 people, Lachlan and Maya, who are siblings but feel like they're more friends than siblings. So close that they may have fallen in love. I don't even know what to take it. I don't even know how how to take that in. I don't even know how to process that information, but yes, essentially this book is about incest. Wow. So I am just perplexed because what the fuck, honestly. So got this book for cheap, want to see what the buzz is all about. Probably going to do a reading vlog about it, may or may not. We'll see, I don't know yet. But I'm pretty surprised because there are some people who I know in real life who've actually read this book and have actually given it more than like 3 stars. So I'm intrigued. A book about incest that's well received? Who in 2021 fucking knew? So we'll see. The next book I want to pick up, also mentioned in my May TBR, is Pieces by Helen Oyeyemi. So again, the blurb doesn't offer too much regarding what the book is actually about. I myself got a distinct vibe from it, and I'll tell you right now what the vibe is. I essentially got the vibes of Polar Express, but make it gay. Make it queer. I've heard nothing but glamorous and fantastic things about Helen's writing style overall, so I'm really excited to dive in and see what the hype is all about, and relatively short as well. All I know is it's these 2 lovers, these 2 men who embark on a train only to find it empty. They're not totally alone when they discover this woman and this cryptic message. Don't know too much about it, but it does sound heartwarming. Okay, so the next book, Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. So Peter Swanson released a new thriller. I guess at this point I can say that I have a love-to-hate relationship with Peter Swanson's books. So I have already completed and finished this book. One of the main reasons why I completed it and finished it as I did was because I am participating in Kayla's book club for her Literally Dead book club, and this was the pick. We will have a live show for this book, yet to be announced. I'm not going to even tell you my rating for this book. You may think that I'm hating it right now. Who knows? I might surprise you and say that this is one of the best goddamn thrillers I've ever read in my entire life. Spoiler alert, it's not, but we'll see. This book is about a woman who hooks up with a random stranger on her bachelorette party. However, she decides not to tell her fiance and marries him instead. On her honeymoon with her new husband, this stranger that she hooks up with shows up, and things go downhill from there. So, all of our thoughts and discussions for the live show, TBA. Alright, so the next book I picked up, also recommended to me quite a lot, is This Is How You Lose the Time War. So I heard that this is a sapphic fantasy revolving around 2 rival agents, in a war that stretches beyond time and space. And this whole book is exclusively told from the point of 2 letters that these 2 rival agents are exchanging back and forth. So I've heard a lot of praise and a lot of hype regarding the story, the romance, the settings, the characters, and everything regarding this book. So ultimately, and suffice to say, I am very intrigued in picking this book up. Okay, so for this next book, I'm pretty sure a majority of you guys already know and have read, and this one is Call Me By Your Name. So, out of everyone, I feel like the majority of people, I'm the only one who hasn't either seen the movie or read the book. I feel like I've missed out on the hype and discussions and conversations regarding this book in general. All I know is that it's a romance set in Italy between an older gentleman and a minor. I don't know, we'll see. I've heard really great things about it as well, and also the different conversations regarding the romance in this book. So I might do a reading vlog for this 250-page book. I don't know how I missed all the conversations and discussions regarding this book because the cover itself I've seen almost everywhere, yet I literally almost knew nothing about it. I feel like the movie itself jump-started and revitalized Timothée Chalamet's career into stardom. So I do know that this book is on a lot of people's favorites, so I'm pretty curious to see where I'll fall along the lines of either really hating it or really loving it. Alright, so the next book is You Reach Sand by Dustin Thao. I've talked about this book multiple times on my channel already. This is an arc and it's not coming out until November. Essentially, this is about a young girl whose boyfriend unexpectedly dies, and while grieving, desperate to hear his voice again, she calls his voicemail only for the boyfriend for him to pick up the phone. I have already started this. This is one of the books I'm reading for the Asian Readathon, and so far it is just moody, hitting me in all the right feels, and I'm ready to have a good cry. So we'll see if this book accomplishes that. So the next book I'm really excited to pick up is Rewrite Upon Sticks by Kwan Barry. This one is essentially a take on the retro nostalgia in the 80s, and it's about an enchanted hockey team. That is pretty much all I know about this book. I picked this one up due to Kayla's recommendation. She really loved it. I've heard that it's really weird and uncanny. I'm weird and uncanny myself, so I feel like this book and I will get right along and have a great time. So the next book I picked up, also on an excursion to the bookstore, is Freshwater by akwaeke, emezi. So the only other book I read from akwaeke, emezi is The Death of Vivek Oji, and I fucking loved it. It was one of my best books of 2020. So I saw this book at the bookstore with Noelle, and we were both like, fuck yes, let's do it. So we each got a copy, and Noelle, if you're watching this, hit me up for a buddy read. So even reading the blurb, I don't know too much about this book in general. All I know is that it's about a Nigerian girl named Ada who travels to America for college where something traumatic happens. So I do get sad, heartbreaking, devastating vibes from this book already, and I'm here for it. So the next book, also picked out from that bookstore, is Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. I literally know nothing about this book, and I know how that can be a pet peeve, but this book was recommended to me quite a number of times under my recommending favorite books of all time video. I listed that Vita Nostra is one of my favorite books of all time, and people were like, well, if you like Vita Nostra, you might like Deathless. I saw it at the bookstore, I read the blurb. Shh, quiet, I'm filming. Birds. So I'm pretty excited to pick this one up because it's all about Koshi, the Deathless. One of my favorite things to read in a book are fairy tale-like elements incorporated and expanded in a way where it's a full-length novel, and definitely here for it. So the next book is an ARC, and this was sent to me by Little Brown, and this is Burn It All Down by Nicolas Didomizio. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is described as Gilmore Girls meets Thelma and Louise in this buddy comedy revenge novel starring a mother and son duo who have a shared weakness for toxic men, red flags, and bad decisions. I believe this book also just came out in May, so thank you to Little Brown for sending this my way. Alright, so the next book, also an ARC that was sent to me, is The Maidens. So this is essentially a dark academic thriller take of mystery and murder, and I have actually read the first book that the author came out. I personally didn't really vibe with it. I thought that personally for myself, the twist was what saved the entire book for me. I didn't see it coming, although a lot of other people did, and I gave that book, I can't remember, 2 or 3 stars. So here's to hoping that this one will be better. All I know about this is that it's centered around a therapist who is convinced that the university's professor is an actual murderer when bodies starts piling up from his class. So this next one I'm extremely excited for, and this is Daughter from the Dark by Marina and Sergey. This is the duo who've written one of my favorite books of all time, Vita Nostra. This one sounds so weird and eerie. It's essentially about a young man who goes home to his apartment one day and finds a young girl there. He doesn't know whether she's a con artist or maybe his illegitimate daughter. All he knows is that she is not letting him leave, and her protector, a plush teddy bear, can transform into a fearsome monster, and the young girl tells him that she must play this really complicated violin piece in order to find her brother. So all in all, this sounds really mysterious, really eerie, and ethereal, and I am 100% here for it. So the next book I picked out from my local used bookstore in San Jose is Alazzo by Darcy Little Badger. This one essentially is about a young girl who can raise the ghosts of dead animals, passed down through generations of her family. Ultimately, she has to use this ability to solve the murder of her beloved cousin. That is pretty much the gist of this book. I've heard fantastic, great things about it, so wanted to pick it up for myself and see what it's all about. Alright, so the next book, this was also sent to me by Henry Holt, is We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker. So essentially, from what I gather from the blurb, it's about family dynamics, family drama in this small coastal California town with a touch of mystery. I've seen this book flying around on Bookstagram. I think that Gabby over at Gabby Reads has finished this book, but thank you to Henry Holt for sending this my way. The next book I picked up is Don't Look for Me by Wendy Walker. So this one sounds very puzzling. It's about a mother who disappears one rainy night after she hitches a ride with a trucker and a little girl. And it follows the young daughter trying to solve the mysterious disappearance of her mother, going to this town and finding a bunch of secrets that ultimately puts her life in danger. So that's a pretty basic formula, 101, we'll see how it goes from there. But from Goodreads, I've heard a lot of good things about this one. The next book I picked up is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Haro. I have actually read the author's first book, and I believe it was called The 10,000 Doors of January. My biggest takeaway from that one is that I loved her writing style. The story and the plot, not so much. I gave that book 3 to 5 stars. I thought it was a rather mediocre take, almost very similar to the Starless C, which is ultimately one of my favorite books of all time. I wanted to give the author a second chance, and boy, this one is a big one. The story takes place in the late 1800s, and it follows these 3 sisters who are witches during the Salem trials. That is essentially the smidge of what I know what this book is about. Alright guys, we have come to the final 2 books in this entire fucking book haul, and this is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This is the first book, and the sequel is An Echo of Things to Come. And by God, these are so thick you can essentially murder anyone with the weight of these thick boys. So I wanted to pick up some good high fantasy again because it's been a while since I've read a really engrossing adult fantasy book. Oh, by the way, a project that I'm entailing myself for, possibly either at the end of the summer or late fall, is to read the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I believe there are 13, 15 total books in that series, and each book is like more than, 600 pages long. I feel like I probably won't be reading all 13 books like this year in general, but I do want to get into binging a good fantasy series again. It's been a while. I feel like the last series I did that was probably Throne of Glass. Long time. I either want to start off with either Brandon Sanderson or Robert Jordan, and since there's a TV show regarding the Wheel of Time on Amazon, I feel like that might be a good place to start. But I've heard pretty good things about this one on Goodreads. This is essentially about a young man who wields forbidden power and about another guy who wakes up far away with no memory of his past but covered in blood. So the blurb doesn't offer too much contrast to the size of this book, but we'll see. The books also had different editions, paperback or hardcover. Ultimately, you can see which editions I chose. So nothing too much to say other than the fact that please let me know down in the comments below, which of these books have you read? Would you really recommend? Did you hate any of these books? Did you love them? And which of these books are you most excited to see a reading vlog from? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all soon with a new video. The mystery left behind when her like the blurb. Yeah, the blurb doesn't offer too much. But the blurb doesn't offer too much. The irony that so the blurb doesn't offer too much contrast.